Get mantra and meditation MP3s at jasongallant.ca.
One of the most difficult and rewarding parts of the enlightenment journey is the letting go of your idea of yourself. Because so often one has to serve that idea, live up to that standard constantly, even when it's not matching the reality. This depends on where your ego is at. There could be some reasonable ideas that you have, but there can also be some very unreasonable ideas that seem reasonable to you. But through letting go of these ideas of yourself, the reality of you presents itself very obviously. You see, there's not an idea of yourself needed in order for you to understand what you need. I guess you could say it's deciding to serve reality instead of the ego. An example of this is I knew a guy that used to play hockey. I played hockey with him in a men's league. And this guy was so concerned about how the other hockey players perceived him that he would do dangerous things or things that weren't necessarily in resonance with the dangers inherent in playing a sport of hockey, right? So of course he wouldn't wear a face mask because he didn't look as tough when he wore the face mask. And he even started taking out some of the padding of his pants because that made him faster, he would say, but it didn't really make a difference in speed. What happened was he could just brag about it to his friends about how tough he was, that he didn't use padding, right? But of course one day he was on a breakaway and he got tripped and fell and slid into the backboards and smacked his tailbone really well, so much so that he laid on the ice for a good 5 minutes before he could get up. And the reason for this is because he had taken the padding out of his pants because that made him look better. So there's a price to pay when you're serving your idea of yourself instead of serving the reality before you. And this isn't really a cautionary tale. It's nothing like that, but what it is an example of how your idea is not necessarily keeping you safe or helping you. What it's doing is it's disconnecting you from what's before your very eyes. It's also disconnecting you from your true self, which is beyond your idea of yourself. It's just here. It doesn't have an idea. Now there are people that say, well, why would I want to do that? I've gotten pretty cozy with my idea. My idea of myself is quite splendid. I sit there with that story every night and tell it to myself like a bedtime story. Well, some stories you can only listen to so many times before the pleasure just starts to whittle away out of it. You know, you can only listen to something so much. So it's like that with the story of yourself. There's a limited experience of life when you live through an idea instead of an intimate reality. Intimacy needs no idea. Love needs no idea. There doesn't need to be an idea entrenched in love. Enjoyment doesn't have to be bound by idea. These can be experienced far more profoundly when the mind isn't getting in the way and censoring and criticizing the events around you. Now, the great misunderstanding that happens whenever I speak about spiritual concepts is that people say, hey, I'm dealing with this certain issue in my life. What should I do about it? The truth is, when you have achieved greater clarity, you will know in the moment what to do about whatever issue is before you. I'm obviously not speaking about transcending the laws of life. If somebody's running at you with an axe, I adamantly encourage you to run in the opposite direction. Right? But you're not living in a self-imposed torture which is keeping you from seeing reality. That's what this enlightenment journey is about. When you are not stuck in dancing one particular way, then whichever music is playing, you could use the appropriate dance to that music. You're not breakdancing to the waltz, right? It's very much like that. Idealism can protect you in some circumstances because you have a strong ego and a template about what you should do, where you should be, but it blinds you to the reality of what is happening before you. So if the situation changes, then you no longer know how to react because you are looking at the pictures in your mind instead of what is in your immediate space. So letting go of the dream of yourself assists you with seeing yourself truly. And wisdom flourishes in this environment. It grows, it evolves. In every moment there is new understanding. And when one lets go of the ideology that they were previously bound in, they are capable of receiving what their situation is telling them. You grow in receptivity and receiving the grace of life can create miracles for you. So often people start a spiritual discipline to control life and to create this miracle or that miracle or to change this situation or another. But again, they're using the spiritual discipline to serve an ideal. And a lot of people start that way. But in time, they will see that the ideals that the mind has now will evolve and change. And as the mind collapses, in order for the truest mind to emerge, a whole new experience of life goes with that and changes the priorities of this new person. It's like you metaphorically die and give birth to yourself, which has a much, let's just say, more beautiful experience than the conditional you. So the Enlightenment Path, as much as whenever you say path, it implies a destination. It's more about a choice of perpetual intimacy with this moment and how it evolves before you. It's an allowing, it's a dance. It's a relationship. A relationship that defies normal rules, or the rules that you probably have constructed in your mind, but brings wondrous gifts with it. And Miracles are included in that. So rather than superimposing your idea of yourself on life, take a break from that from time to time and see what life brings to you. I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now.
Are you interested in working with a spiritual teacher in a formal setting? Well, perhaps the Wisdom Life School is for you. If you're interested in checking out what the Wisdom Life School is all about, just go to aratima.com.